again on this Monday, April 21st, 2014. Matt Bailey here, and I hope you all had a wonderful Easter and Passover. Today, we welcome back to the program Mark Wade. Wade, as you may remember, is America's premier kid show ventriloquist. But he also has another equally important job title. He is the executive director of the Vent Haven Convention. With the convention just less than 3 months away, Mark joins us to tell us what we can expect from Vent Haven this year, as well as how you can still save on the already low price of registration. Here now, our interview with Mark Wade. Mark Wade, welcome back to Ventriloquism Weekly. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing great, Matt. Thanks for having me back on. It's always a pleasure.
Well, it's always a pleasure to have you, and as our listeners know, last time you were on to talk about kid show ventriloquism, which we could do about another 20 episodes on with you. It's just a lot of fun to talk to you about that.
Oh, my passion.
But your other passion and your other pet project that everybody knows you for is the Vent Haven Convention, which as of today,
Oh, yes.
Monday, April 21st, just a little less than 3 months away. In fact, it could be said that yesterday, Sunday, marks exactly 4 months to the first day where the convention would be over, but we don't want to think about that. It's about 3 months away.
Scary.
It's about 3 months away. And so how does it feel to be so close to this really awesome convention and get to be doing that again?
Well, actually, it feels pretty good. Our numbers are doing well. People always ask me, well, how are the numbers doing? I said, numbers are doing well. Things look like it's all ready to launch the right way. And so, yeah, I'm very pleased with what things are doing right now. Just try to encourage people about that May 15th cutoff date for the pre-registration. They can still register after that, but it's going to cost them $10 more per person. So we want to make sure people remember that May 15th date coming up here very, very shortly.
That's right. It's about $135 now for the first family member, and it's going to jump up to $145 in another couple weeks here. And then for additional family members, if I'm not mistaken, and please correct me, it jumps about $20 from
$95 to $115.
Yes. So those are some very important price differences if you want to get into one of the greatest conventions that exists. And so could you give our listeners a bit of an insight into what goes into creating such a massive convention?
Well, it kind of starts all over again. We do these conventions and we finish up, of course, mid-July. And then we start our next one again September 1st, or the first part of September, right around in there. Mm-hmm. And that's where we start putting together the ideas that we put on little scraps of paper and put on note cards, and I put in my file, and I start pulling them out to see who I might need for performers, who I need for lecturers, who I need to do any kind of activity at the convention. Then I start contacting people, and I start lining up that schedule. I also make meetings with the hotel, the Marriott, and look over the food schedule with them, look over things that we need to do from last year to this year, line up the buses, line up all the AV stuff that we need because we have to rent that, the backdrops and all the stuff we need for that. So there's a lot of little bitty pieces that go together to make a great big puzzle, but it's always fun, and I've done it now. I've done a lot of the ones before 2000, but now that I'm into this era, I've done the last 15 as executive director, and I'm very pleased to be able to do that for them.
That's great. And the Marriott is our new hotel for Vent Haven, and they seem to have just taken to us tremendously, and we to them, and they're always a silent partner in making such a great convention work. What's it like to be working with them?
Well, it's great. I loved the drawbridge when it was in its heyday, but the last few years it kind of limped along, and through no fault of their own. It was just a big facility that was independently owned, and it takes a lot of moolah to keep something like that running. But I had to make the decision, and I did about 3 years ago. I just said, we've got to take it someplace else. And somebody recommended, I looked at the Marriott at the airport. So I went over and looked at them. I mean, we just walked in off the street. Ken Groves and I and my wife Jody walked in off the street, and I set up an appointment with the gal there in charge of meetings and whatnot. And Stephanie's her name. We worked out in a contract, and by golly, it worked out super. They did everything to my expectations, and that's great. That's exactly what we wanted to have and wanted to see.
That's wonderful. And when we moved to the Marriott, a chain hotel, of course, the drawbridge was wonderful for the time that we were in the drawbridge. And
Right,
I
right.
remember us talking about this before. Just my curiosity of the history. You said that at the time Vent Haven started, the drawbridge was the only hotel in the area that could accommodate such a large group.
Right, right. It was the largest banquet facility in the tri-state area, Indiana, Kentucky, and northern Kentucky and Indiana and Ohio. Right there, what they call the tri-state area, and it was brand new, and they had everything we needed: the restaurants, the coffee shop that was open 24 hours, all the amenities, and that's where it started. There, the birth of it back in the 70s.
And now with the with our jump to the Marriott, the growth of it has just jumped to over 100 more ventriloquists per year tend to register now that we're at the Marriott. Was that unexpected when you guys moved?
Well, I had people, and I had kind of an inkling something might happen like that, but you never know until the actual numbers come in, of course. And when we made the move, people wanted to try it. They were excited about going to a new place, and when they got there, they liked what they saw, and they told their friends about it. And last year, we were 623 ventriloquists at our convention from 15 countries, and I was just very, very pleased, and I'm pleased with the Marriott to no end.
Yes, and there's just a lot of wonderful space at the Marriott. Like the lobby, there's a wonderful lobby there. And I know at the drawbridge you'd walk in, the first thing you I remember my very first convention, I walked in and Neil Bacon was sitting right there. And as my parents, I was younger at the time, so my mom went up to the desk and I sat with Neil, introduced myself. And you can still do that in the massive lobby that the Marriott has, because the convention, and this is really a credit to you and your team, it's not so much a convention as it is. Well, it's a convention. I'll let you make the metaphor. But
Okay. We consider this now almost a family reunion.
that's what I
People
was
come
getting at.
every year and they connect with each other. They share ideas throughout the year through Facebook and through the internet and through telephone calls. And when they come back, and now it's a chance to meet face to face with their friends, and they learn things and they laugh and they have a good time. We got excellent restaurants in there and excellent food choices for them to have, and so comfortable accommodations. It's just a good situation for everybody. Plus, we're just 3 or 4 miles down the road from Vent Haven, not very far at all, the museum.
What do you attribute as the main factor to the convention having that atmosphere of a family reunion and that sharing of ideas? Why do you think you find that at Vent Haven?
I just think it's the people that come there, and I think it's the people that are on the board of advisors and on that people that we pick to help us with the convention. They're giving people. It's one of the few conventions you see where the professionals actually run it and professional ventriloquists actually teach and show people things. I've been to conventions of magic conventions and other kinds of conventions where, the pros kind of stay to themselves. They talk among each other. And I don't fault them for that, really, because, it's the only time they get to see their friends once a year someplace. But on the other hand, the other people feel like they kind of got, we paid money to come to the convention. We're kind of left out in the cold. We're standing over here wondering what to do next, and no one's taken the lead here. So that's one of the things I encouraged. I encouraged all of our professional events to meet new people, talk to new people, help them where they can. And it's one of here's a perfect example. I walked into the restaurant last year or year before, I can't remember which, but there was Jimmy Nelson, and there was, of course, with him an amateur ventriloquist, somebody just getting started, another pro vent, people that were just enthusiasts. I mean, all walks of life, all kinds of people, all breaking bread, so to speak, right there together at one table. It was just amazing to see something like that. And Jimmy sharing his stories and his other experiences with them. That's the kind of stuff, and that's what I like to foster at our convention.
And it really is the whole family aspect. It expands beyond the ventriloquism, just talking ventriloquist to ventriloquist. My story is I go every year. with my family. I mean my family, my grandparents, my parents. I mean, the ratio of ventriloquist to non-ventriloquists that come with me is kind of crazy. And just when I think that it's going to be the year I'm finally old enough, and I have been for some time, I'm just going to shoot up on a plane to Kentucky and go do it and come back. My family goes, no, we're coming with. We want to say hi to Bob Abdu. We want to talk to Carol Green. Let's
Yeah.
go to Van Haven. And I'm like, oh, all right, family outing time. So it really is a family reunion in all sense of the words.
Well, it is, and you'd be surprised how many people that came along as extra family members with a ventriloquist ended up a brother or sister taking up ventriloquism because they had so much fun coming to the convention. They picked up an inexpensive puppet. They started learning. They started talking to a few pros, and that's one nice thing. Nobody is with their nose in the air there, so to speak. These professional ventriloquists, if you stop them in the hall, they'll stop and talk to you, actually give you the real deal when it comes to information.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like buy my book or buy my video. I'll tell you right now exactly what you need to know. And I think that's another plus for us. I think ventriloquists are just nice people.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny, you see Jay Johnson, who's accomplished so much, and I know I keep going back to him as an example, but this is one thing that sticks out from last year. He's just running around with the raffle tickets like everybody else. And I'm just sitting there laughing. I go, he has a Tony Award on the mantle.
Yeah, because how many Tony Award winning performers do you have wearing an apron, a nail apron, selling tickets for the raffle for Van Haven? You don't see that. You don't see that every day.
You don't.
And then of course, Jeff's there every year. I remember when Jeff came as a kid, and his mom and dad would come to the convention with him, and I got to watch him grow up, and he got to kind of grow up with us. He used to call me and say, "Hey, I'm doing some comedy clubs. Are you home?" And I said, "Yes." Yeah. "Can I crash at your place?" And I said, "Sure." So he would come and stay on my couch, sleep on the couch and do laundry and just regular guy stuff. And then we go out and I watch him work, and he go to some school shows with me while I was working those. And so, it's fun. Those are the kind of friendships you foster at a convention like Van Haven.
Great. And it's important you mentioned Jeff. I want to make sure our listeners know, especially the people that know you generally how sort of the convention works. He's not on Saturday this year. He's on Friday. Jeff Dunham's lecture is on Friday this year.
Right. So Jeff is doing a new lecture for us. The theme this year, we try to have a theme every year for the convention, something to kind of wrap our arms around the convention. And this year it's on comedy writing. Now, one of the points I'd like to make to people when they hear this is it's not going to be one of those boring kind of things where you sit there, listen to somebody drone on, and you have to do drills and lessons and all that. You'll have some writing you'll have to do, but it'll be fun because the people that I bring in as teachers are people that also know how to entertain while they're doing it. So you'll laugh a lot, but you'll also learn a lot, and you walk away with a good feeling that maybe I can build my act to be a little bit stronger and a little bit better, because better ventriloquist means more ventriloquists. That's the idea. Now, getting back to Jeff. Jeff's coming in, and he's doing a new lecture called The Building Blocks of Creating a New 5 Minutes. I know it doesn't sound like very much time, but 5 minutes really has to be, as you know, doing shows and me doing shows, you have to really polish that 5 minutes. And so you have to know how to put new material together, maybe with old material, maybe with some other new ideas that you have to make something new and creative. So Jeff's going to do that for us. So it's always good. He always performs a little bit for us, too. So that's always fun. He uses Ahmed or some of the other characters to help with the lecture. So that's good as well.
That is fantastic, and it's just wonderful to see him wanting to give back to the convention and the community he came up in, which is wonderful.
Exactly. He always comes. I mean, if it's only just a day, because his schedule is very tight and very busy. If it's only just a day, he'll come. And I've seen him spend a lot of time, a lot of money out of his own pocket to get there for one day, to be there and be a part of the convention to help us. Also this year, it's kind of a double barrel pleasure to bring this to everybody. Is not only the comedy writing is important, but this year we're bringing in another one of the old pros that are really great that people want to see, and he's still doing a lot of great stuff, is Willie Tyler, the black ventriloquist.
Woo!
Luster. Yeah, Willie Tyler. He's like the premier black ventriloquist in the country, and he does some really cool stuff. And we just are just honored to have him. In fact, we're going to honor Willie Tyler and Lester there at the convention this year, and so we'll have a special interview with him. And if we can work it out with your schedule and his, we'll see if he can talk to you a few minutes too. I think that'd be really a handy idea.
And that would
And
be
so,
an honor. That really would. And going to jump, that's a perfect transition into his tie to your, the company you are now honored to own, Mayor Studios.
yes, yes, yes. That's another like I need another job, but I tell you, I love them. You know, it's Mayor Studios is really really great. This is to be a thumbnail sketch of Mayer, and not a big history lesson, but just a thumbnail sketch. It started in 1934 by a guy named Fred and Madeline Mayer. And Fred Mayer was a professional ventriloquist that did what a lot of other professional ventriloquists didn't do. He sat down and put together a course on how to learn ventriloquism. Up to that point, we had books on ventriloquism, and some of them weren't accurate. Some of them really, if you read them, you couldn't learn how to do it. But he actually gave you a course, and it was several lessons on a mimeograph machine. You do you buy the course. He'd send you 3 lessons. You complete them. You send out your responses and whatnot. Then he'd send you 3 more. So you did the correspondence course. Well, Fred died of a heart attack, and Madeline, his wife, ran it for a few years. Then they sold it to names that people will know in the vent community almost immediately, Clinton and Adelia Detweiler,
Yep.
who moved it from Michigan area, up in Detroit, out to Colorado in the Denver area. So they ran that for a few years until Clinton passed away last year, a year ago in January. And I was close with the family, and they contacted me, and we talked, and we worked some things out. And now here, Jody and I, my wife and I, are now the owners of Mayer Ventriloquist Studios, and I have 2 really keen partners with me. I've got Tom Crowell, professional ventriloquist, and Ken Groves, another professional. So you got 3 professional ventriloquists, just like Fred Mayer was a professional running it. You got 3 professional ventriloquists running the new Mayer course.
That's wonderful.
And studios.
That is wonderful. So what else can people expect this year? You talked about honoring Willie Tyler. What else can people expect this year from Vent Haven? And more specifically, do you have something up your sleeve for Vent Haven from Mayor?
You know, people ask me that all the time. Actually, I tell you what, we're pretty much out there telling people all the time what we're going to do. We're pretty upfront on everything. I don't like to give them too many big surprises like that. Last year, of course, which is no surprise because we announced it, we had the big Terry Fader show at the Taft Theater. But this year we have an all-star show on Saturday night, which we've advertised with Lynn Tresker and Jerry Lane and Todd Oliver and Jim Barber, both great acts that were in Branson. And, of course, finishing the show, kind of headlining it at the end, was Willie Tyler and Lester, of course. So this is a show that's going to be really one that will knock it out of the park because there's all strong acts on it. Mm-hmm. And I guess it was something new this year. I guess this is kind of a surprise to people that maybe aren't in the know on this. But on the next day, our convention runs July 16 to 19. On the 20th, which is Sunday, the next day there, we're going to have a special double talk show for the people in the greater Cincinnati area. That doesn't mean that if you're an attendee of the convention, you can't go. You can. But see, we had to limit the outside people from the area coming to our convention because we just didn't have enough room for everybody.
Yeah.
And so we made it conventioneers only for our shows. But the outside people, so to speak, in the greater area there in Cincinnati wanted to come, wanted to see the shows, have asked about it. And so now we have a show for them. It's on the 20th of July at 3 p.m., and it's going to be held at Notre Dame Academy of Performing Arts Center. And that's a high school not too far down the street from Vent Haven, just around that same neighborhood. So it's a great venue, and we got some professional events that will be hanging around. Jay Johnson's going to be on that show as well, from TV show Soap from years ago, people remembering. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of a surprise that in the past we've had that show in the fall, we've had it in the spring, but this is the first year we've tried kind of tying it on the tail end of the convention, so to speak.
Very exciting.
I think it'll be good for the community and gives them a chance to see some events, and they won't be upset that they didn't get to go to the convention unless they registered as a conventioneer.
Yes, and one of the things I'm very excited about, of course, I'm excited about all of it, but something very near and dear to my heart is a little program that's going to be live at Vent Haven Wednesday before we even open it called, what's the name of this show?
I'm trying to think of that guy.
Ventriloquism Weekly. We're going to do a lot.
Yeah, shoot, Matt, that's who it is.
We're going to be doing a live episode with Jim Barber and Todd Oliver. And I'll tell you, it's really cool and it's an honor. And the only reason I mention it, because I'm sure I'm going to talk about it to the hilt while I'm, in the next coming months here on the program. The only reason I wanted to mention it here is because I really want to make sure everyone hears me. I thank you so very, very much for the honor of being able to do that show at convention. It's going to be amazing. Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, you're welcome. Not only is it fun for us to listen to you, but you're doing this a kind of a community service for ventriloquism as well, because what you're doing is recording these people on your program. And then, of course, Vent Haven will get copies of these things, and we'll have it on the archives. And we always are trying to add more and more information about ventriloquists and any kind of thing that we can on them in the archives.
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, I say all the time, that was never what it turned into. Was never the goal of it, just to talk to people. But I'm honored that people listen and that I get to come and do it in front of people and have fun with them. And it's really a full circle moment for me, because about a year. Only right when I started this at the convention, it'll be about a year. And right around that time, my first in-person interview was Jim Barber and Todd Oliver. And so I haven't talked to them on the show since then. So a year later to get to talk to them at convention is just a really cool moment for me. And I'm going to try do my best to make it a really cool moment for the people that are going to be there and listen, and that are then going to listen the following Monday when I post it online, which will be really exciting.
That's going to be really, really great, and they'll be able to hear and enjoy these guys just like we enjoy listening to you. So it'll be fine. It'll be a great thing for everybody, a win-win for everybody.
Well, thank you again. And the last question I have for you, because you really did touch on everything about Vent Haven, and my best to your crew and the people that make it run, because it's awesome. What's one behind-the-scenes thing about running the convention people don't know that you'd like them to know? What's the one big secret that you want to talk about here?
Oh boy, big secret. I'm pretty much an open book. What you see is kind of what you get when I do these conventions. It's just, I think people can see me running around or wondering what I'm doing sometimes, but it's like, think of the guys that used to spin plates. You got 6 plates on these little poles in the air, and you're running down here to keep that plate in the air, and you keep Dan running on the other end to keep the other one going. That's kind of my job a little bit during the convention, make sure all the plates are in the air. And so far, we've been able to keep it all in the air without breaking anything. If you can do that, gosh, I think you got a winner on your hands.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Mark Wade. I am so excited about Vent Haven and about coming, and not just my portion, but truly the entire convention. And what are the dates again for those that may not be aware?
July 16 through 19. And the big thing they need to remember is May 15th. They've got to get their registrations in before May 15th so that we don't get have to charge them more, because it goes up after May 15th. So tell them to get their registrations in as soon as they can and secure a room at the I almost said drawbridge, don't go there because it's not there anymore. Go to the Marriott and get yourself all taken care of there with them as well.
Yes, absolutely. You heard it from the man himself, Mark Wade, Executive Director of the Vent Haven Convention. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks again, Matt.
Well, thank you again to Mark for such an intelligent, insightful conversation on what really goes on at Vent Haven. And it's all true. Vent Haven really is a family reunion. And for as many fun stories as we exchange, there really is important information in there that I want to make sure you guys heard. Remember that the deadline is May 15th for early registration to Vent Haven. July 16th to the 19th are the dates of the convention at the beautiful Airport Marriott in Hebron, Kentucky. It really is a not to be missed event. No, I get it. I know that's a joke, and it gets old, and it's so overdone, but it's true. It really is an awesome convention. And with regard to Ventriloquism Weekly, next week we have something really special. About 2 or 3 months ago, friend of the program and actually former guest Rob Condis reached out in our group on Facebook. Turns out Rob is doing a school project, and he was curious about how he could interview a ventriloquist for his class. It's a big final thing. I think he's a junior now, and it's gonna kind of culminate in his senior year, if I'm not mistaken, and this is the beginning stages of it. So after some thought, I said, duh, and I called Rob up and I offered him to guest host an episode for an interview. To my delight, he agreed, and our buddy Tom Crowell will be his guest. Now, me, as we're working on this, I'm over here thinking, oh, okay, he'll do the interview and I'll chime in at the start and at the finish to round it out for him. I got the audio file the other day and Rob did a full episode, beginning, middle, and end. And let me tell you what, guys, I sincerely mean this. He absolutely nailed it. He was phenomenal. I can't wait for next week. This is incredible. There's no one I would trust more with guest hosting Ventriloquism Weekly than Rob Condas. So kudos to him, and I'm so glad we could help him out with his school project. ventriloquismweekly.podomatic.com, facebook.com, search for Ventriloquism Weekly -podcast for ventriloquists. And you can now tweet us at Talk4Two. And of course, we are always on iTunes by searching Ventriloquism Weekly. So please connect with us. And I haven't said our email on here in a while. It's ventriloquismweekly@gmail.com. Send in your thoughts on the program, what you want to see, what you want to hear, the type of performer that you would like me to talk to and you would like to hear from. And that's it for us this week. Look out for Rob Condas talking to Tom Crowell about the Vent Haven Museum next week on the 28th. And I will see you in May already, for our final 2 episodes of this season. Man, does time go quick. And trust me when I say that these last couple episodes are not to be missed. Signing off for Ventriloquism Weekly, I'm Matt Bailey, reminding all you vents out there to keep talking for two.